But sometimes you just don't come through. You need a woman to get to you. Okay, Tori Amos. Hello. Yes, I have just finished reading Christopher Hitchens' God is Not Great, which came out several years ago, apparently almost 10. It took me a while to get around to it. I found it in a used bookstore, traded in some books for it. But Christopher Hitchens, in the 90s, I regarded him as the best writer in the world. The wit, the wisdom, the humor, the writing style. His book, For the Sake of Argument, I read it twice overall. Some of the different articles I reread several times. It was a reprint of articles from different publications, Vanity Fair. And he had a large presence on C-SPAN's Journalist Roundtable in the 90s and was present in debates. And even before The Daily Show, he had a similar show on Comedy Central, a short-lived show. I forget the title of it, but it was similar to The Daily Show, sort of a precursor. It was hilarious. He's always been such a great debater and intellect. And when I read For the Sake of Argument, I always wished I could write like that. And he's always been very hard left socialist and just a real influence on me. But after 9/11, he did side with the Bush administration to invade Iraq, and he lost a great deal of his credibility, attacking Michael Moore and generally losing a great deal of his political credibility. Also came down with esophageal cancer. But in this book he came out with, it proved total bestseller and finalist for the National Book Award. And along with Sam Harris's book on that, the End of Faith, Reason, I forget the title of that book. Haven't read that one. But it formed a new movement, that what some called the New Atheism. And back in the 90s, I had a website on atheism. And I took history of religion in high school and college, and went to Baptist school for a short time. And I have long been an outspoken atheist. But I haven't done it online for many, many years, about 20 years. And nowadays, with the emergence of Hitchens' book and the New Atheist movement, you see on YouTube a lot of great atheist channels. My favorite is Jacqueline Glenn's channel, but there are many very sharp atheist channels out there. And after 9/11, of course, many people realize the transparent truth that the biggest threat to our survival and democracy is God, the belief in God, theism, militant fundamentalism worldwide, various strains, both Christian and Islamic. They proved militantly aggressive and violent and anti-intellectual and oppressive. And well, that was true to, it was clear to people hundreds of years ago. It was clear to Voltaire and Nietzsche and David Hume. But after 9/11, it was transparently clear to anyone with any common sense that theism, and not just fundamentalism, but theism, is counterproductive to reason, intellect, and decent society. It was dragging us into wars and recriminations and prejudices that are below the standard of any thinking humanistic person or any society worth its salt. And so I'm glad there is that movement, and there has been some progress in the fact that, you know, millennials are far more likely to be atheists now. I think they've doubled in numbers at least. And but at the same time, there has been some controversy with some of these atheist channels have branched out into being anti-feminist, and I think that's a good thing. Certainly, some of these feminists are out of control. The Anita Sarkeesian is asinine joke. You know, she with her feminist diatribes on video games and her very learned idiocy, and she's an easy target. Um, the attacks on Rebecca Watson, she said some crazy, stupid shit. But at the same time, I kind of like her. I mean, I can tolerate her. I mean, you could some of the shit she said is so silly. It's just, but you know, for large part, her channel's pretty good, and she's an atheist. So I do like these divergent opinions and arguments. But in general, that doesn't extend to the corporate media and what have you. And religion, obviously, still a huge threat. 3 suicide bombings this weekend in Saudi Arabia, from what I understand. I just heard about it. Medina was hit hard. Another one in Baghdad killed 250 people. 3 in Saudi Arabia is very alarming because it means that ISIS has real support in that regime. And why not? They're the ones that helped fund it and export it. It's a Wahhabi brand of Islam. And that regime may fall. They may put the Saudi royal family's heads on spits. They'll take over that country, and they'll be in possession of the hundreds of billions of dollars in F-15s and Abrams tanks that the Pentagon and our corporate backed government has seen fit in their infinite wisdom to sell them over the past 30 years. And ISIS will be an even bigger threat than it is. But right now it appears to be from here to eternity anyway. It's the 7th century all over again. This is the, oh my God, it's awful. But, so it's still a major issue of our time. But, and about the book. I was a little disappointed. And the style's not as good. It does sort of ramble. Most of this I already knew. I have read a lot of books on atheism. Richard Dawkins, Unweaving the Rainbow. The God Delusion, I don't think I actually read. I think I read Unweaving the Rainbow. Richard Dawkins is good. And I'm not totally sure. I would even recommend the book. The weakest part is when he attacks in one chapter Eastern religions, and particularly Buddhism, and he uses quotes from a book called Sin at War. I've read that book, and it was very unconvincing. The Japanese imperial empire, of course, was motivated by fascism, militant nationalism, and used every propaganda at its disposal, whether it be emperor worship, Shintoism, Buddhism, or even the Christians that were living in Japan supported the war. So it wasn't about religion per se. Till the Christians were mostly wiped out in the Nagasaki blast with the atom bomb. That was a Catholic city. But anyway, so so yeah, I am an anti-theist. As I said, I had that website 20 years ago about Zoroastrianism and its influence throughout history in the ancient Middle East on Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. So you could see sort of these defective thought memes as they spread into other religions, and certainly the monotheistic theist concepts of an all-knowing God, a heaven and a hell, and martyrdom and persecuting other faiths have proven to be the most pernicious ideas. I would not say that any evils perpetrated by Buddhism have been anywhere near that. Buddhism, as you know, is an atheist religion in the sense that there is no theological construct of a supreme being. There are bodhisattvas such as Kuan Yin that are sometimes prayed to, and Buddhism does take many, many different forms. But it just simply does not have the blood on its hands that these Western monotheistic atheist religions do, which all descend from Zoroastrianism in the ancient Archimedean Persian Empire. I ought to put that website back up. But anyway, so yeah, keep a watch on Saudi Arabia. The corporate media is not even covering it. We don't know what's going on in Saudi Arabia because it's not a free society. They don't allow people to talk to the media, gather in public places, public theaters are banned. It's a medieval totalitarian society based on God. And we don't know what's going on, but obviously they don't like that government. Obviously many of them are members of ISIS. And you know, Christians used to be this bad and oppressive and violent. And I think that in reality, they don't base their lives on it as much, and that's why they're not as violent. If they did really believe it, they should be, you know, out doing what they can to persecute the unbelievers and burn them and convert them and Spanish Inquisition them as they did, but they don't truly believe it as they did once. But the strange way that Islam renews with every generation this archaic fanaticism of the true believer is it's difficult to get a handle on, and it's a great threat. Of course, I don't believe we need to launch massive additional wars along with the ongoing ones. We need our own house in order. But anyway, that's my 2 cents for today. Thank you for watching.